AI can change. If you have an ebook, it can rewrite the book in real time if it wanted to. You could get a text from it looks like your dad when really it's not. Anything can be fake nowadays.
We find ourselves in this strange world. Somebody's watching every move you make. Something that's smart will feed information to intelligence. That is literally kind of the backdoor code behind the smart device movement. And here's the crazy part. It's not just your email. It's not just your social media. It's now your thermostat in your home. It's your front door lock, your security camera. All right. Well, welcome back to the Rice Report, everybody. Eric Rice here. Of course, I'm your host, where we talk about the three things you're never supposed to talk about: money, politics, and religion. And more importantly, we talk about topics that are important, I believe, in the grand scheme of things. Sometimes they're political, sometimes they're financial, a lot of times they're financial, and many times they are spiritual, religious. I actually don't like the word religion. I like the word faith. However, today's topic touches all of them. It really does. We live in a world right now that is so centralized and so controlled that we have this battle between truth and lie constantly. And by the way, nothing's changed. It's been this way since the dawn of time. Rulers have always lied to the people below them for control. However, we find ourselves in an increasing online world. Everything is increasingly becoming digital. Digital money, blockchains, AI. You're already in email. You get way more email than you get physical mail right now. And it's all centralized, it's all controlled, and it's almost impossible to find privacy. So today we have a very special guest from the Privacy Academy. Eric Meter is joining us here from Europe, and we are going to be discussing privacy, things you can do, what the trap is. I really want to get into that, Eric, because there's just not many people out there who really understand. And there's a lot of people out there who understand how bad privacy is right now, but there's very few willing to talk about it. More importantly, there's even fewer people willing to take a stance and build a company or a business around educating others on how to become private. So, Eric, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we find ourselves in this strange world where people think they can live in a silo and I'm just at home taking care of my kids. Somebody's watching every move you make. And here's the crazy part. It's not just your email, it's not just your social media. It's now your thermostat in your home. It's your front door lock, your security camera. Eric, how bad is privacy invasion today?
I think it is the biggest issue of the century. I think a lot of people are kind of unaware of what's the end goal of it is, but there's a reason why they're doing it. And so what I see is a smart device has two key components. One, it surveils you, and then the second is it's a device of control. So, for example, like you said, smart thermostat, smart fridge, smart car, everything is smart nowadays, and that's because they want to be able to surveil you at every moment, and that way they can control you as well too. So if you look at some different people that are pushing this, they say China is the model, and China is the one that's behind the Chinese social credit system. And if you look at the social credit system, if you go against the Chinese government, you'll be punished. And there's three main ways that they punish people. It's financially, so they can cut off your bank account, they can stop loans, they can stop you from getting good jobs. It's geographically, you can be not allowed to fly or go on trains or even cars now, since they're so smart. And they're even geofencing parts of town. And then the other one is social, and that's the scariest in my opinion. So, for example, if I would call, let's say, my friend from school, 10 years ago, before they pick up the phone, it says, uh, just so you know, the person calling is blacklisted. If you pick up this call, you'll lose social credit points. And so they treat you like you have an infectious disease. And it's really an unbelievable level of control of what they're trying to set up.
And it's not an illusion. It's not like a thing that happens in the future. There are images coming out of Beijing right now with young people sleeping in parks. They can't
Yep.
get a job. They have been banned on social media because they're speaking out against their regime. Now they're not killing them like in the old days. That's the weird part. Is most people think the new world order will be, some scary tyrant with a gun to your head all day. They don't need to do that anymore. They can simply shut you out of society and watch you die off in the desert. They don't even have to watch you. Well, they will watch you because they have cameras there. But they certainly have the ability to just starve you out. Now, when
Yeah.
we look at things like the interconnectivity, the Internet of Things, and you brought up a great term, and this is something I want everyone to think about. Words matter to these people. The rulers of the world really focus in on language because that's a great way to control. It's been used since back in the days of Babylon. So the word smart device, I really want you to think about smart car, smart TV. I want to get into the smart TV because that's a very interesting surveillance tool. But the smart device, smart means intelligent, right? So something that's smart will feed information to intelligence. That is literally kind of the backdoor, code behind the smart device movement. So Eric, this Internet of Things, I'm old enough to remember when it began. And when it began, I was heavy in technology. I was a CEO in the space. went to every conference in the world, and eventually just started thinking to myself, what are we doing? Why do I need my refrigerator connected to my phone? The thing is, the thing I started to notice, and the reason I got out of it is because they sell it to you in a beautiful way. We're going to make your life so easy. This is the oldest trick in the book. We're going to provide convenience in
Yep.
exchange for something that's never free. It really isn't. So the convenience of internet, oh, you can operate your pool from your phone 1,000 miles away. Well, they can watch all that stuff, and they can monitor your behavior, and they can engineer anything that they want. Social engineering is reaching into spirituality, religion too. We'll get into that in a little bit. But Eric, what are the primary things that people overlook? Like the average person, not a paranoid person like me, but the average person, how often are they being surveilled, and what's happening to their data when they use their fridge and their email and their social security? Like really what happens in the back end?
Constantly. Yeah, they're constantly being surveilled. And it's being used against them to create a profile, a very detailed profile. And of course, people know the whole thing about Google listening, and then they show you ads. That's the tip of the iceberg. And I kind of think that they have that as an excuse to kind of write off all of the conspiracy theories where it's, oh, it's just for ads, because people don't really care that much about getting targeted ads. Um, but it's all connected and it's all centralized. And I'm really appreciative that you use the word centralized, because that's the danger. Liberty by nature is decentralized, and they are trying to centralize everything. If your fridge is connected, they can shut it off. If your car is connected, they can shut it off. And so they want to have total control and total information. It's just they're creating a system of totalitarianism that has never existed before. And I guess one way that people don't talk about or think about enough is how they're able to manipulate people and spread propaganda in ways that they've never done before. So, what you said earlier, I agree completely with. I mean, lies, deception, rumors, that has always existed in human nature. You can go look at kids at a playground, they spread rumors about each other, but there's certain things in technology that happened that really expanded how lies are spread. So, for example, the printing press or radio or television that allowed people to broadcast lies publicly to a huge amount of people. But nowadays, with
Truth
all of
as
these
well, Eric.
devices,
The printing
what was that?
press was a major tool for truth as well. So that's the double-edged sword of the world that we live in, of information.
That's true. That's true. And I'm not fully against modern technology, but all I'm trying to say is, with these profiles that they're trying to that they successfully create on you, it's not this blanket message that they're sending to everyone. It's not like a radio blast or a television report. It's a dedicated message for me. They know my profile. They know what I believe, my hot buttons, what I'm afraid of, and so they can spread agendas much faster. And I actually have a personal experience with this. This is what woke me up to what's going on in the world with the privacy thing. So my father has been talking about this for about a decade, and I've been working with him for the last 5 years. But when I was about 20, 21, I was pretty lost. I was pretty depressed, anxious, and just brainwashed, quite frankly.
It was
And
common at
at
that
the
time.
time,
Yeah.
sorry, what was that?
It was common at that time. 2021 was a very difficult year for humans.
Yes, it was definitely. But at the time, I went to culinary school, and then I also was a cook. And there's one day I just listened to the song "Rotten Apple" by Alice in Chains. It's a depressing song on repeat all day, over and over and over. I went to school, I cooked, I came home, and then I just opened TikTok and started scrolling. And I saw a meme that said, "When you're a line cook and you listen to Rotten Apple 24/7 and you want to kill yourself." And when I saw that, it freaked me out. It was like a slap across the face, because I knew that For You pages existed. I knew that algorithms existed. And luckily, my father had been telling me about the surveillance stuff, but that was just so on the nose that I uninstalled it. And then that's kind of what inspired me to start getting into this privacy journey.
Wow. I mean, you don't get more specific and personal than that. That is unbelievable. I'll give you an example. So, like, I am very low surveillance tech. Like, I try to use as little as possible. Nothing is I do not connect my phone to my computer. The computer I'm talking to you on my podcast is completely disconnected from my laptop and my phone. Everything is compartmentalized, which is kind of a way to protect yourself, sort of.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but at the same time, I'll give you an example of a friend of mine. So he was driving the other day, and he saw this kid from the neighborhood. So this kid he's known since he was like 4 years old. He was now like 19 or 20 in college, spinning a sign in front of a store, the sign spinner. And him and his wife were there, and they mentioned his name, and they're like, God, I haven't seen this kid in forever. I think he's going to do great things in life. So when they got home and he opened Facebook, it was that kid's profile. And he's like,
Yeah.
I haven't mentioned that kid's name in 10 years, at least 10 years. First thing he saw on Facebook was that profile. We just had Google confirm that your incognito pages are being recorded, which, I mean, if you
Yeah.
thought anything was incognito, it's kind of your fault, by the way. The only thing it protects you from is like your kids or somebody seeing your search history. Other than that, everything is recorded. How deep does this rabbit hole go? Because I see social engineering has been happening for 25 years, whether people realize it or not, really since the advent of email. That's where spam came from. These are all intelligence operations, by the way. You should know that, people always talk about, oh, Bitcoin's created. Everything technologically started in a black box, whether it was DARPA, NSA, the CIA, any of their development teams. These technologies are developed in a black box. They're
Yep.
handed off to a patsy entrepreneur. Mark Zuckerberg did not create Facebook. Bill Gates did not create Windows. These are all surveillance tools, and they have been since inception. So people oftentimes scoff, like your traditional statist is a term that I'll give them when I tell them Facebook was called LifeLog, and it was a DARPA project. It's very provable. The day they shut down the program, the very next day, the Facebook Corporation opened up and Facebook kicked off on Harvard's campus. These things are very easy to see. They don't care. Like, they don't really care if you can find the rabbit trail, because the story and the narrative they'll give the world is so much more powerful than the actual truth. And it's overwhelming. They make movies about it, right? Oh, here's this brilliant story, social network. It's all a lie. I mean, there's truth in it and how it grew, but not how it was built, not how it was written. So, Eric, how deep does the rabbit hole go on surveillance? I think that's the question most people have.
Oh, it's never ending. I mean, you can look at it from so many different angles. And that's one of the things that I also try to tell people that they should avoid actually when they first get into it. I think you need to know enough to understand that it's important, but then if you go too far down that rabbit hole, you can get blackpilled where you say, okay, it's worthless. Um, because you need to take small steps at a time. I mean, that's the whole reason we created our academy, is to help people take small steps at a time, because once you learn how centralized everything, everything is, and how interconnected everything is, you're in a web. You're really caught in like a web that they've cast you in, and it's a lot of work to get out of. That's why you need to do it slowly and in small steps over time. Because if you think about your lifestyle, like what you said, every element is designed. It's been designed to be there. You're driving a smart car. You've got a smart fridge. You've got all of these tools. You use social media. You work online. You pay your bills online. Maybe you find your girlfriend online or whatever. It's just everything is in their system. And once you really realize that, you kind of freak out because you think, how can I ever get out? And a lot of people just surrender at that point. So what I always say is become aware and then take small steps, because I've seen people go straight to, I'm going to have a Linux computer, I'm going to get a de-Googled phone, I'm going to do everything right away. Um, and then they still think, oh, what about this? What about this? And it's just a never ending thing. You just have to take it one small step at a time. And I think we have to look at it from different lenses too. So there's, what can you personally do? First of all, you need to cut off the supply of data. Like, for example, that propaganda story that I was talking about with the rotten apple line cook scenario, they can't get that information because let's say I use a microphone blocker, I've got a webcam cover, I've got a de-Googled phone. I've worked up to that point. So I'm more resistant to the propaganda. I'm more out of their system. But the next step is you need to spread awareness about this. You need to spread awareness so there's a mass non-compliance and people shift to respecting technologies.
Now, there's also this push of, and this is where it gets really devious. There's all these privacy tech companies that come out now. They're not privacy tech companies. That's it, and I, first of all, I have no way of proving it with 90% of them. 10% I can prove immediately. You see
Yep.
it all the time in crypto. That's the big thing right now, is privacy coin. Well, that privacy coin was created by venture capitalists. It's totally centralized in the back end. They know every transaction. Somebody outside of the network may not know that transaction, but somebody who created it absolutely does. And they
Yep.
absolutely know who you are. And they've trapped you in buying it on an exchange, giving up your information in KYC. It's all a trap. So let's walk through that. I want this to be strategic, informational, strategic, and tactical. I think those are very important things. And when you separate strategy from tactics, you really start to understand you have to have something in mind. But before I do that, can we ever become private again, like truly private?
Yes, I think
That
well,
was a
private, that's a
hesitation,
harder
Eric.
question. What was that?
You gave a big hesitation there.
I mean, there is a lot of things that's going, I mean, private to degrees, um,
Right.
but more private. I mean, ultimately, the path that my father and I are on is we want to help ensure more liberty than ever possible, and I think that's going to happen. I really do. and you can't have liberty without privacy. So yes, I do think it's very possible, and it comes down to a lot of it comes down to the people and then the solution. So yes, I think we can have privacy. I think it will be an opt-in type of thing where it's like, okay, I'm willing to use this. Like for example, people always say, why do you show your face if you're talking about this if you don't care about privacy? Well, I want people to hear from me. I want to be a real person that talks about this, and I'm willing to share this message, but someone should be able to have this message privately too. So I think, like, for example, if you look at the health freedom movements, they always talked about how there's opt out things, and that's apparently a freedom based thing if you can opt out of it. But the whole fact that you're opted into something uh, at its base level, like privacy too, is not freedom oriented. That is
Right.
them taking away your freedoms, and then you have to take action to reclaim it. I think in the future, it needs to be where you're using privacy respecting devices. You've got microphone blockers, webcam covers, all these different things built into it. And I think we're gonna have to go back to a lot of dumb technology, like old school fridges. I mean, they're built better, anyways.
Yeah.
Old cars, that sort of thing. And then it's okay, what do you want to trade? What do you want to trade? Okay, maybe you do want to go on social media, and there's some that are less private than others, and you can make an informed decision on it. So I think it's kind of that we've entered this new era, and right now is a wild west where people don't really understand what's happening. And once that awareness is reached and people start caring enough, then they'll choose more privacy respecting ones, and then it'll be in an opt-in choice where they say, okay, I'm gonna give up some here for this.
No, I think it's a good place to start. Like people don't realize that, like I'm right now in the process of buying a 1985 Cutlass Supreme, which was like a car I
Nice.
had in high school, and I'm doing that to put it in storage. So that's my secret car. No one can see where I'm going and what I'm doing. Not that I have any nefarious purpose for it. I just don't feel like being monitored like cattle. And I often use this analogy on podcasts and Twitter Spaces and things like that. You have to understand the world has two components. There's just two parts to mankind. There are ranchers and there are cattle.
Yeah.
And the ranchers are trained in places called the farm. Stanford University, the CIA, that's their training ground. It's called the farm. They're literally teaching them how to be better ranchers to manage the cattle. And the cattle are too dumb most of the time to realize that they're totally surveilled, being milked while they're alive and chopped up into pieces when they're dead and sold off for parts. That's just the reality of Earth. And if you deny that, just go ahead, change the channel. You don't even need to leave a comment. That's the truth of the world. But that can change. People don't realize that the cattle don't realize that the fences on the farm are made out of string. You can walk right through them. You don't have to be confined by this arena that you're put in, watched and monitored all the time. So let's get into some strategy. So the strategy is pretty well set. We have to understand the battlefield. Understanding the battlefield is pretty easy. Just assume everything technologically that you do is producing data. That data is going into a centralized control system, whether it's a corporation, which, our corporations run this country. That's the reality. And so that means it's automatically going to the government. So just assume that right off the bat. Just assume that every device that you're using right now that provides any ease or comfort, like making a phone call wherever you want instead of being tied to a landline, just assume that that's feeding that centralized data source. Just assume that everything you do online is being seen by somebody you don't want it seen by. That's first and foremost. If you're watching this and you're under the age of 25, stop taking risque pictures of yourself and putting them on your phone. They are seen. Apple did sign a contract with the intelligence agencies who now have full access to your photos, even if you don't share them online. The intelligence agency does. They are building dossiers. Palantir already has everyone's data. That was signed off by the administration this year. They're building full dossiers on every human being in the United States. And we're probably last. Europe's already toast. China's gone. Like, we already understand that. The Chinese model, you brought up a very good point early on, Eric. Many of these people who are in power, including people in Washington, D.C., and CEOs of major corporations, love the Chinese model. And they say it. They're not even afraid to say it anymore. And they are striving for that. So let's assume that. Now, tactically, how do we begin to put blinders on these people, these agencies, these ranchers that are watching us as cattle? Where do we begin? Where's the first step?
Definitely. Like I like to start with the low hanging fruit. So first off, what I'd say is make a list of everything in your house that could be spying on you. Like if you have a smart home device like an Alexa, Google Nest Home or whatever, smart fridge like we mentioned earlier. So go through that, make a list, and then really decide if you want to keep those or not. I would recommend against it. You can also find privacy alternatives or just dumb devices like a smart TV. You don't need a smart TV. You could get a monitor instead of that. Um, I personally am a big fan of low tech solutions. It sounds funny to people when I say this, but low tech really beats high tech all of the time. Like if you put a webcam cover on, that's low tech, but they can't hack that. There's no software. It's just, you got something covering the camera. You can do the same thing with a microphone blocker, Faraday bags. Those are very great low tech solutions. But then when you get to the actual software, I would recommend starting with, get a private browser, get a private search engine, get a trusted VPN. There's a lot of different things, but ultimately you want to have a path forward where you're moving to, and I know this is what a lot of people don't like to hear, but you want to get off of Apple and Windows at some point, because Apple has Apple Intelligence now. Copilot has what's it called? Recall, where
Yep.
it's watching every second. It screenshots your screen every second. They say it on their marketing. They don't even hide it. It screenshots every second, and then it saves that and it analyzes it, so it knows everything you're doing. It sees all of your passwords. Even from a security level, it's a huge concern.
Hmm.
So you want to get off of those eventually. I don't think you should start with that. That's a little bit more advanced. But if you can start by doing like a private browser, private search engine, also, deciding what you're going to get off of. Maybe you want to get rid of social media, that sort of thing. Just start with the low hanging fruit, because once all of that is done and organized, then you can do a bigger task like a computer or a phone. I always say a computer is a better starting point than a phone, because you use a phone every day. It's with you all the time, and it's a more dramatic change. But if you get like a private computer, like a Linux, you don't have to. You can gradually switch over to it, so you can, boot it up, get used to it, and then once you're familiar enough, that's when you can make the switch over, and then eventually you go to a phone, and it can go down the rabbit hole as far as you want, and it's kind of up to you. That's what we talk about at Privacy Academy is, we are going to help people as far as they want to go, but it's up to you to decide how far you want to go. And then the other aspect is, okay, how do we do actual community change? Because really what's going to have to happen is local change, um, because like you said, everything is centralized. We need to go decentralized again. So that could be, like if you're a normal person, run for office. It sounds crazy to say, but we need good people running for office, and usually the people in office are the people who don't want to run for, that should be in office, are the people that don't want to run for office.
So true.
You can do local groups. There's a group that I really like called Alpine Gold. They do gold backs, and I'm working with them to help set up this roadmap. What I want to do is have a roadmap for where we can go to every city, and it says this is what we need for goldbacks to function as an economy. Because so basically, what a goldback is, it's like a dollar bill,
Hmm.
but it has the gold physically in it, and so it's a great form of money. The problem is it's kind of a gimmick right now, because you don't use it. It's not like an active currency. No one accepts it. So I want to create this roadmap where it's like 30 different people, like maybe there's a butcher or a chiropractor in every place, that makes it usable, and then we can have an alternative currency. Because what they're going to do with the digital ID is they're going to link it to your bank account,
Hmm.
and if you don't get a digital ID, you can't work or you can't have money, and they're going to come after your livelihood. And a lot of people are going to fold to that. And so we need to build strong local communities, focus on strong change, and have a counter economy as well. So it's a long answer, but basically, you want to get your own house in order, and once it is, then you want to focus on building the local community around you.
Yeah, that's great advice. I've done that. So that was something I did in 2020 and 2021. Met all the people around here that would accept, precious metals for payments for beef or milk or whatever it may be, or services, things like that. I don't know how long that'll last, right? You have a small niche of people that'll do it, and I think that digitally that's going to happen. Like, I'm seeing groups being put together, like with Fediments on Bitcoin, where it's people living off on, which guys, by the way, nothing digital is private. So anyone selling you a privacy token is a lie. If it's online, it's not private. It can be concealed, and it can be semi-confidential, and it certainly can be secure, which is one of the reasons Bitcoin thrives, is the security of the network is impenetrable. But when you're talking about private transactions, it needs to be physical. Like, there's no other way to do it. There really isn't. I
Yep.
was setting up, back in the Revolutionary War, they had a whole process called the Committees of Correspondence. So they knew this is, by the way, this is the 1700s, right? So we're not talking about yesterday. They knew they were being surveilled back then by the king. So what they were doing is they were setting up specific locations, and they changed every week. So either it was a bar or tavern, a church, a school, whatever it was, and they were filling out documents and battle plans incrementally in compartments. but they would have one person, they would meet, they would write up plans, a portion of the plan, and then a guy would ride a horse 100 miles to the next location where the next group of people would speak and add to the document.
Mhm.
Will we go back to that? I hope we don't go back to that, because that's
Yeah.
incredibly inefficient. But that model of security and safety, you can compartmentalize parts of digital environments, but you can't do it in anything centralized. That's just the end game. So Eric, so AI is a prime example. This is the next generation, right? So we were told that, these things that we carry in our pocket all the time that literally listen to everything we do. And I give this example because it's frightening. If you have an Apple phone, which I do, and you go to your Apple Health, I'm a rucker, so I love to throw on weight and do hikes and stuff like that. And I just one day just decided, man, I'd really like to track how far I'm going. I pulled up that app. I hadn't signed up for it. I can't uninstall it, and it already knew how far I'd gone. More importantly, it has a metric called walking asymmetry, and it judges, or based on my phone movement, it tells me whether or not I have a limp. So I actually have a really bad knees. I was a catcher for 20 years. And I had a couple of days where I was really limping. I kept going, I kept
Mhm.
going. And I looked at this stat, and it was like you went from 2% asymmetry to 19%, which indicates an injury or a limp. So your
Wow.
phone can tell whether or not you're limping, and you have zero options to get rid of that tracking device. Zero. That's embedded in Apple. So these small communities, I think, are important for communication. So if you're talking about things, by the way, family stuff, we had an Alexa in our living room for about 2 months. My wife just bought it, and I was like, "Get this thing out of here." It's literally listening to everything we're doing. They can, like, your example is so powerful of, by the way, congratulations for listening to, at your age, listening to music where they played actual instruments. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
I was a big fan of Alice in Chains,
Yeah.
but they are depressing. That is a heroin addict writing about his depression constantly.
Yeah.
So you did fall into that neuroplasticity trap from the tone of the music.
Yeah.
But they were great. They were really good.
They are. Yeah.
So many good bands from that era, by the way. Music is
Agreed.
also a control mechanism, right? It's a
Yeah.
vibration that goes through the subconscious. So, like, if you're depressed, stop listening to depressing music. Listen to uplifting music. You'll actually correct yourself quicker.
Yeah.
But in that trap where they're listening and identifying, you're listening to this music, you're talking about these things, they're taking in what you're saying vocally. So when you were talking to a friend with your phone in the pocket, they knew what you were talking about. When you have family meetings, by the way, Faraday bags are not all built the same. You buy a Faraday bag, test it, put your phone in there, and call it. If
Yep.
it receives the call, they're selling fake Faraday bags. The intelligence agencies are probably behind that. They're selling fake Faraday bags. The best Faraday equipment you can find actually is where the term tinfoil hat comes from. Tinfoil, that's the best Faraday bag you'll get. Get a shoebox, wrap it in tinfoil, cover it, seal it. It's completely protected. And the term comes from people thinking aliens were going to do mind control. So we built a tinfoil hat to keep
Mm.
aliens from controlling their mind from EMFs. Interesting history on words.
Yeah,
But
that
Eric,
is.
these small groups are so important. Like with your family, take your phones, put them in a different room. They're going to know what your family is. So they're going to attack your kids, social engineer your kids, social engineer your wife. Keep everything as private as you possibly can. It's not just a liberty thing, it's a sanity thing today. And I think these small groups that you're seeing, how big are these gold back communities that you're seeing right now? Probably pretty small.
They're pretty small. I mean, it depends on the state. Like Alpine Gold is based out of Utah. Utah is
Yeah.
definitely a state that is more aware, and they're really popular there. But you look at some other states, it's not hitting. But I think if you set up a roadmap like that and you get some really powerful leaders to go out to their community and really engage people, I think it could be very fast exponential growth in building that counter economy.
And here's why I bring up keep your phone in a Faraday bag or don't bring it. So these gold-backed communities want to have private transactions. However, I guarantee 99% of the people who go for a chiropractic visit or to go purchase beef from someone, they're bringing their smartphone with them so the whole conversation's recorded and everyone knows. Keep things as private as possible. I love your low-tech approach because most guys in this space are really charlatans. They really are. They're coming out and saying, just use my technology. Well, who backed your technology? It's probably Peter Thiel behind it, or some of these venture capitals that are very good at giving one persona in public, but then doing something totally different in private that you don't know until it's too late. Let's get into
Absolutely.
let's get into high tech. So we have the low tech. Let's get into high tech. So the low tech options, a camera blocker on my phone for like 5 years or 6 years, and people think I'm paranoid. I'm not. It's it's nobody else's business, and I know they're taking pictures. So You can even look at infrared. Your camera is literally flashing in a small amount that
Yep.
you can't tell. The human eye can't see it until you slow things down. Let's get into high tech. How would you protect yourself? Is there a way to have a private email? I know remember Proton Mail? That was, oh, it's a
Yep.
private, secured. It was built in Switzerland. And if you know anything about the history of Switzerland and who runs Switzerland, that's kind of the home of intelligence and banking. There was never anything private about Proton Mail. Can
Yeah.
you have electronic communication that's actually private?
In degrees, definitely. I mean, email is one of the trickier ones to answer, especially with how people use email. I mean, if you send, like, let's say you have a Proton Mail or Tuda or whatever, and you email like someone at Gmail, it's not private. You're sending it across mail servers. The only way it works privately, they talk about, is if you send it from Proton Mail to Proton Mail because it stays on their servers, it's encrypted end to end. So email is really not. I don't know. It's not a great option for privacy at all. I do like it in some senses. Like, for example, if you want to grow a following, I
Yeah.
think having a newsletter is much more important than going on YouTube, for example, because YouTube, they could cut you off, whatever. But with an email list, you kind of you own those leads, and you can't be. It's decentralized in the sense where you can't just be cut off from it. But that's a whole separate conversation. Um, I mean, there
Is that
are
a
private
subliminal
net.
suggestion? Everyone keeps telling me to do that. And I'm like, I'm really not interested in building a following. I just want to get the truth out there, but maybe I should.
I recommend email for sure. It's much. I like it a lot. But anyways, there are options. I mean, there's Signal, there's Session. Um,
No,
but
Signal's not encrypted. We know that. That's been hacked multiple times. It was just hacked in the White House, leaked in the White House.
yeah, I'm not too sure honestly about that. I haven't. I'm more the marketing side, just so you know. Like, the
All good.
privacy experts in Glenn are more the deep tech knowledge. So I can't represent the Privacy Academy in that sense. But um, yeah, I mean, what we talk about at Privacy Academy is you want to focus on multiple solutions, and it's not necessarily, we aren't tech guys for the sake of being tech guys. We like privacy for the sake of liberty, and so that it comes down to understanding what you're talking about. Like, if you're talking about something very private, I wouldn't recommend anything digital ever for that. You'd want to do what you're talking about, where you put your phone in a Faraday bag, you put on a microphone blocker, and then you put it in another room, really. So the solution, I mean, what it comes down to is they market it as convenience. And think about convenience. What is the most convenient or efficient form of government? That's a dictatorship. Checks and
Mhm.
balances exist to control the power. I mean, the Constitution exists to control the federal power. And so when they sell you on convenience, it's a golden handcuff that they're selling you right now. So um, basically, the long answer short is there are high tech solutions. Like, if you want to go as far as you want down the rabbit hole, you can get a Linux computer, so Copilot isn't watching.
Mhm.
You can you could do Session, you could have your private server, you could self-host a lot of things, you could have a de-googled phone. So those are great, and I do recommend doing those, but you've got to decide how far you want to go down that rabbit hole. And low tech is a great option too. I'm a big fan of digital minimalism.
Yeah, no, I agree. Same here. And Linux is a whole different system for people to learn, so it takes a little time. It does
Yeah,
take some time.
we actually recommend a system, a version of Linux, a distribution called Zorin, because we didn't recommend Linux for the longest time because we speak to average non-techie people, and Linux just it wouldn't fit for those people, honestly. But Zorin, it's really solid for the average beginner. I mean, we've helped transition, I think, probably 2,000, maybe 3,000 people who are non-techie. Some of them are over 70, over 80, and they're fully on Linux and using it, and it's great. So if you're looking for one, check out Zorin. That's a great operating system.
It's simpler than just your core. I mean, Linux, you kind of have to build it, but Zorin kind of pre-built, low tech, simple to use.
Very. Yeah, they have an app store you can go to. I mean, they you can set it up to look like a Windows computer or an Apple computer. We've also partnered with them in the past to have, like, all of our pre-recommended privacy apps from other third parties preloaded if you want to go that route. Um,
Hmm.
but
Wow.
yeah,
Wow. Let's get into AI, Eric.
yeah,
AI is the largest topic not only on Main Street but Wall Street. It's there's clearly but there's no revenue in AI, guys. Like I do this stuff. It's all centralized, 100% of it. I'm in decentralized energy generation, so I actually generate energy from flare gas and create, either sell to a grid so they have enough electricity, or do Bitcoin mining. And this type of environment, the reason I got into it is pretty simple. We have to control, everything has to be decentralized. If you don't want someone ruling over your thoughts, which is truly the game. The game is
Yep.
not necessarily ruling over your body. That's old. That's an old tactic from hundreds of years ago. Today it's ruling over your mind. So if you want things to be ruled over if you don't want to be ruled over your mind, you have to figure out a way to decentralize. And right now there's so much money being thrown at AI, so much money. AI developers make 3 times the amount as a normal coder. Your average VC investment into an AI company is 4 to 5x what a normal company would be to build an app. They're getting 17 to 25 times earnings immediately on public exchanges in the stock market. There's very big incentives to build into a centralized system. The government has allotted $650 billion for data centers called Stargate to guys like Larry Ellison and Sam Altman. So if you trust them, if you think they're trustworthy, come to me. I've got a beautiful, beautiful oceanfront property right here in North Texas. You can buy right next to the ocean. I'll sell it to you because they're really good guys. But we have this world where AI is being presented again. This is going to provide convenience. It's going to provide this wonderful world for the rest of the world. You're never going to have to do the things you don't like to do ever again, which pay your bills. By the way, bills have always been paid by doing things that other people don't want to do. AI is now embedded in all of our devices. You can talk about Gemini or any of these other ones, or we voluntarily download ChatGPT, which if you read the instruction manuals, they're looking at every machination of your phone. They're watching everything that you do. They are going to be using, this is now a law, they can now use your search queries or conversations with ChatGPT in lawsuits against you. It's not private. AI is constructing a social engineering campaign that will create a delusion upon humanity that they have never even imagined. It's I always talk about faith being the grounding thing. Everybody's different. But how do we protect ourselves from AI aside from low tech options? Because I love that you have 2,000 people on Linux. That's, by the way, that's like one of the most impressive success stories that I've heard in a while.
Oh,
How do we
thank you very
protect
much.
ourselves from AI? How do we do that?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of things. It's hard to say high tech. I mean, because really the only way, in my eyes, that you could fight AI on a high tech level would be more AI.
Right.
On a low tech level, first off, it comes down to skepticism. We're going to need skepticism, unlike what we've ever had in the past, where every video you see can be forged, every audio can be forged. I mean, I think it's a good wake up call for people because we get all of our information from our screens, whether it's our phone or computer. AI can change. If you have an ebook, it can rewrite the book in real time if it wanted to. It could, you could get a text from, it looks like your dad when really it's not, or a call even. So anything can be fake nowadays, and that's because we have allowed ourselves to get information from this source. So, uh, is it okay if I talk about some low tech solutions, or do you want me
Absolutely.
to?
Please.
Okay, yeah,
Please. Now we're here to learn
low
from
tech.
you, brother.
Yeah, no problem. Low tech. I think, like I said, skepticism is really important. I think another aspect that's really important is unplugging. I think a lot of our youth and adults don't do that anymore. People talk about they say, "Oh, touch grass." Sorry, my dog's going crazy. They say touch grass, and people go outside and they go outside, but the problem is, like, if I think about when my father was young and he'd go out with his friends, they wouldn't have phones. They just go out at the bar. They're not thinking about anything else, and they're in the moment, or not bar, like restaurant, whatever. They're in the moment, and when people say touch grass, kids go outside, but all they do is they go on their phone. They're still scrolling, or they're thinking about work. And that's one of the problems with the centralized everything with the internet, is there's no off switch. And I think they want people okay, so for example, Leonardo da Vinci is one of my favorite people of all time. I think he's an absolute genius, and his genius comes from boredom. If you look at it,
Mhm.
it's because he was bored, and then he was curious, and then he tested it. And I think boredom is what drives a lot of critical thinking. And I think boredom is being taken away from us on purpose because they don't want people thinking. So if you look at how phones exist nowadays, you can go on TikTok, scroll forever. It's built to be addicting. Um, that is a whole rabbit hole where people are absorbed and they're completely out of reality. So I think in terms of like AI in that sense, you need to unplug, you need to be skeptical. And really, this is a little bit more. Uh, a different kind of, sorry,
Go ahead.
different kind of thing.
We can interview him too, him or her.
It's a little bit different, but I like to spend time where I listen to my inspirations. You know, I listen to inspirations. I don't think you need to go to the internet to draw conclusions. You can consume as much information as you want, and then maybe go for a walk and feel what inspires you in life. And I think you need to, have that higher divine inspiration.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more with you. Sometimes Occam's razor is a very powerful tool. Sometimes the simplest answer is the best. Most times it is. And unplugging is so important, guys. I don't do, like, recently in the last like 4 months, I just stopped doing social media on Saturday, and on Sunday I'll check it because I want information. That's like the beautiful part, is you can get information you can't get anywhere else. But do you need it constantly? Do you need a main vein IV drip of
Yep.
information? You can, if you're good at it, you can get the info you're looking for in 20 minutes and turn it off. And how old are you, Eric? Do you mind me asking?
I'm 26.
So 26-year-old in today's world is telling you to unplug and live your life in the moment. I've been talking about this for years. I talk about this with my kids all the time. I'll go pick up my daughter from dance, and within 2 minutes, she's got her phone doom scrolling. The first thing that I tell her is like, "Do you need to do that now?" And she puts her phone away. It's just this unconscious habit that they have. And I've told my kids multiple times in the car, turn off your phones. I know you're sitting in the passenger seat, but you don't need, I guess I'm phrasing it wrong. I'm like, you don't need to be entertained all the time. But I think a better way to rephrase it is you actually need to be bored. That's where
Yep.
change occurs, when you're actually in that stalemate of, God, there's nothing to do right now. I'm a child of the 80s. So I clearly remember as a kid, most things that I did were an invention of my mind to eliminate my boredom, but I had to do it. I had to do it. And that's what gave me the ability to see through things in the world. And I think kids are being numbed of that fact. And it's more dangerous than people realize, is that when you have 20 years from now, no one will have an imagination left because it's fed to them through AI. That's going to happen. There's really nothing we can do to stop it, to be honest with you. But we can keep, if you can save 1% of the population, you can conserve humanity. Like, it's probably, I'm assuming that's probably the goal of Privacy Academy. No, not
Yep.
everyone in the world is going to be interested in it, but if you can save 1% of the population, you can actually conserve true humanity for another 2 generations.
Yeah, and I love that you say conserve humanity too, because if you look at the human tech tree, how we've evolved over time technology wise, why have we continued to innovate as people? Convenience is not the end goal. I think that is something that they're lying to us, because if you look at life and what makes it beautiful, it's not, the fact that my windows can shut themselves. It's art, it's being with family, it's the small things, and those small things are what we're trading for convenience, but people don't realize it yet. And I think a lot of people are going to have a hard pill to swallow, where we ask ourselves, are we going down the right path in the tech tree? Is convenience the end all be all for humanity? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah, and people talk about like storytelling, right? Like the basis of humanity, the gift that humans have, like, over all other dominion, over all creatures on earth, is our ability to tell stories. That's one of the things that makes humanity human. Look at society now. And I saw this like literally a couple days ago in a restaurant. So we're sitting there, and the first thing I always do, like, I don't allow phones at the dinner table. Like,
Mhm.
everyone should just stop with that. But when you go to a restaurant, my family is now trained to look at the rest of the restaurant and look at how many people are on their phones. So it's very common for kids to do this, but I saw two, I don't know how old they were because I didn't say hi to them. Two, like, I would say 60-year-old men were at dinner together, and they would talk, and they would talk, and then they would say, "Hey, look at this." And they would show them a video on their phone. Like, that is, people don't realize that's killing humanity. That is killing humanity. Instead of showing people the video that you just watched, try to tell them about it, and then give them here, you could go on this and find it. Give them something to do, to see that. But when you see something, learn to articulate it and tell it to other people. That storytelling piece is huge. Look at
Yep.
all of the restaurants. Every restaurant you go to, the worst, Eric, is the airport. The airport, for me, is either a place that I'm in an airport quite a bit, but I love the airport because that's where I write or I think about things, and I'm like, who do I want to interview? What do I want to cover? What location should I look at for energy? Or I get on the phone with human beings off in the corner, of course, and go like, hey, I've got this idea. That's where you get great ideas. For me, anyway. That in the shower, it's a weird place, but in the world that we live in, go to the airport. When you get to your gate, just look at the people. 98% of them will be on their phone. Family sitting right next to each other, going on a great family vacation to wherever it is. Instead of talking about all the things that they want to do, they're going to TripAdvisor or TikTok and looking at stuff that either like, hey, this guy did it, we should do it too. We are losing this touch of humanity. So how has your life changed? Obviously, you were very entrenched in tech. So we'll get to Privacy Academy in a minute. I want to know more about you. How did you at 26 years old get on this journey of the Privacy Academy, which is pretty much anti your generation? It
Yeah.
probably puts you in a weird corner. Some people are probably like, you're weird, Eric. Why would you not want to have TikTok, right? Like, what kind of journey have you gone through to get to where you are?
Um, yeah, actually, it's funny. I think a lot of my peers are almost envious. I don't know if that's the right word, but they want to do it themselves too. Whenever I'd say I'm not on social media, they're like, "Oh, that's awesome. I want to do that too, but I can't." They're just too addicted. So I think there is the desire, but people just feel too trapped. Um, but yeah, I don't know. When I was maybe 19, 20, 21, I was in a pretty bad place. Earlier, I said I was brainwashed. I definitely was. Um, and I basically had to hit kind of a rock bottom and refine myself, I think. I was, 300 pounds. I was very deep into, like,
You were
I would go
300
to.
pounds?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. What are you
And,
now? You about a buck 80, buck 75?
no, I'm like 210. I'm
Wow.
6'8", so I can
You're
hold
six
weights,
foot
like.
eight?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, okay. 6'8", 210 is skinny. That's
Yep,
thin.
yep. But, I was going to, like, a lot of psychiatrists, and I was on, like, they were just pumping me full of pharmaceuticals. I was on, like, 7 different antidepressants and antipsychotics at the same time, and I don't remember, like, 6 months of my life. It was just a really bad point of time, and then I just had this breaking point where I was like, "Something's gotta change. I kinda looked at myself in the mirror, and instead of blaming everything in the world, I was just like, I'm doing this to myself." So I stopped all the pharmaceuticals. I went to the gym, and then I started listening to my father more because my father has been an entrepreneur his whole life, and that's how we bonded. And I was like, okay, I want to get back with my family more. And he is very insightful. So luckily, I've learned a lot from him. And over these last 5 6 years, it's just been this constant learning process of, liberty. Um, and all of these things. I mean, and the whole privacy aspect. I started out with no knowledge, and now I think I've got a decent knowledge. I mean, compared to like Glenn and our privacy experts, I'm not great. I'm more on the marketing side, I guess. But I know a lot about privacy, and I know a lot about liberty now, and it's been a fantastic journey. So I'm really grateful to have that opportunity.
Well, let's talk about, first of all, good for you for admitting you were brainwashed. I think that just from I kind of feel like the sober guy at a drunk party most of my life. Like I feel like I'm the guy like humanity just seems so drunk on, hedonism or ego or whatever it is. And it's a difficult thing to live through. It's actually, the ignorance is bliss is a very very astute saying. So once you start to realize things, how did you realize you were brainwashed? And what does that mean to you? What does I was brainwashed mean?
Um, well, the first thing I guess was the pharmaceuticals. Actually, when I got off of those, because they kept saying things like they kept telling me, "Oh, you'll never be normal. If you get off of these, you'll kill yourself." And I was just really spiraling, and I knew that. I got to a point where I was like, "Okay, well, if I stay on these, I think they're doing me more harm than they're helping me." And they say I'm going to kill myself if I get off of them. Well, I think I'm going to kill myself if I stay on them. So I kind of was at this endpoint where I was like, I just need to chance it, I guess. And when I got off, I felt much better. Not instantly, but I started going to the gym. I started focusing on my diet because I think diet plays a huge impact on your emotional state. And I started
100%.
just that was a moment where I saw through, I guess you could say, brainwashing. And then I started questioning myself because in the past, I guess I would look at the world as problems instead of how I can, take control. And that's when I started really growing a lot. And then my father started challenging a lot of my beliefs too, because I'd consider myself kind of woke, I guess, back then.
Mhm. That's a yeah, it's truly a brainwashing campaign at mass scale that's more evil than people realize. And I think
Yeah.
that good for you for being brave enough to talk about this stuff too. God bless you. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah, no
More people
problem.
need to more people need to hear your story. So let me just rewind it in very simpleton terms. At one point in your life, you were fed pharmaceuticals. You were eating whatever you wanted, doing whatever you wanted, blaming everything in your life on everyone else, and you were angry all the time. Then at a certain point in your life, you started to realize it's my life and I'm responsible for the things that are there, which is something I was taught at like 3 years old. I mean, everyone in my
Yeah.
generation was taught. I'm Gen X. So like we took care of ourselves all day. But you started to realize that I need to be healthier. I need to be, if I'm healthier, I'll be happier or at least more stable. And from the point you were at, that stable is happy, right? Like it's an elevated scale. And then you started saying to yourself, well, how did I get here? And now you're starting to realize that a lot of the brainwashing is we are constantly bombarded. Eric, I think you'll be interested in this. In 2015, which is 10 years ago now, it's crazy. In
Yeah.
2015, I gave a speech at a conference on information overload. And what I had found before giving this speech is that in 2015, okay, so this is where we were still kind of like phones, there were smartphones, kind of. The camera on the phone was very pixelated and not good. We were just kind of getting into that really strong era. And I gave out a stat that most people were astounded by. The human eye in 2015 absorbed anywhere between 100 and 150,000 words a day. That was 2015. That
Wow.
was from pop-up ads, blogs, emails, things. 150 to 100 to 150,000 words a day.
That's
Not to
crazy.
mention all of the intention behind those words. What are they? Get you to buy something, get you to believe in something, get you to vote for something. All
That's
these
like 2
persuasions.
books.
Yeah, huge. That's a huge amount of data daily. We take, and most of it's useless. That number today is around 235,000.
Wow.
So it is escalating continually. Now the words are different. So the words back then were actually physical words, prints, actual words. Now the amount of words you're taking in are coming from video, which is far. You can listen way faster than you can read. Most people, considering the average adult reads at like an 8th grade level right now in America, you're going to listen to things as opposed to read them if you want to take in data. And I'm bad at this. I go through an audiobook every 3 days, and I read a physical book every week. So I'm just ripping through content. That's content I want to learn, though.
Yeah.
Look at all the subliminal messaging that's happening right now, and I think that the biggest breakaway, because you seem like a pretty happy guy to me. You got a
Yeah.
girlfriend. You're in a foreign country. You're traveling. You're running a business. You're working with your family is so important, guys.
Yep.
In the younger generations, you guys are taught, oh, when I'm 18, I go out on my own. That's actually a very new thing. Most people in most civilizations throughout history stayed with their parents and stayed close to their family until they got married. That's just history 101. So this
Yep.
new phase of, pump them with pills, get them unhealthy, send them off on their own, just enhances depression. Stay close to your family. You can learn way more than you'll ever imagine, and you'll be happier because those people love you. Your family loves you. Stay near people who love you. I just met Laura Logan last night, which was pretty interesting. I'm going to talk about this with you because I think it's an interesting topic.
Mhm.
She said something. I'm going to try to get this right. She said something that her mother said to her, and this was a very profound statement. And for me, I actually text myself what she said. That her mother used to tell her, "Love many, trust few, paddle your own canoe. Love many, trust few, paddle your own canoe." Profound statement. Now, I was
Yep.
at this event last night because they were going through, I don't know if you know what's happening with Christians, but they're being slaughtered in Nigeria constantly. And there's information that we should all know to try to help. And we don't know that. So we have this information block. We're fed all kinds of things. And in the middle of all this, privacy is like right at the dead center. So here you are in African tribes, right? These African tribes, they have eyes on them. The government supporting this stuff. Like, it's not a conspiracy theory. So the government can watch them, but they can't watch the government. So they just get sneak attacked on all the time and just slaughtered in villages, burned alive, chopped up. I mean, it's horrific what's happening there. But love many, trust few, paddle your own canoe. Laura Logan last night. That was one of the more profound things I've heard in a while. Man, and you've kind of learned that, right? Like
Yep.
you were taught the opposite, right? Like love everyone or hate the world or blame the world for everything and trust all these people you shouldn't trust. Trust few. That is the world we live in. And privacy, boy, does privacy matters. When you have no privacy, you learn to trust all these people online that you've never met, that you have no clue what they look like in real life. And we have so many relationships being built online.
Yep.
Like I love online. I've probably met, I don't know, 500 to 700 people who follow me online in person. 15 or 20 of those I immediately unfollowed because it just gave me the creeps. But most of them, I'm like, these people are really cool people. Like, that's what we
Yep.
should be striving to do, is meet in person. I don't even know where I came with that, but like, it's just for young, that was just love many, trust few, paddle your own canoe was like a very interesting thing for me to hear last night. I wanted to share that with a young person. So Eric,
Yeah.
we're approaching our time here, and I can't thank you enough for being open, for being honest, for being a human being. You hear people who run academies and talking about technology. Everything is. I'm going to give you a great bit of my discernment in this conversation. Every person that I have talked to bring onto this podcast, which I haven't until you, has talked to me about their new privacy tech. They keep telling me they have some new tech. It's encrypted end to end. And the first question I ask them is, okay, it's encrypted end to end. Is the actual database decentralized? The answer is always no. It's always
Yep.
no. You know, that's where you have like, that's, you know, like you can look at altcoins and Bitcoin. Great example. Is it decentralized? No. It's a distributed ledger. It's distributed on 15 different corporate servers, where you have, you know, millions of, well, you know, 28,000 nodes running the Bitcoin network that are people like me, just normal people. And even that has struggles. Like, that has it's not private, guys. It never has been. It's anonymous, but it's not private. And it's not
Yep.
private. Nothing crypto is private if you buy it on an exchange, by the way, because there's KYC laws, AML laws that track you. So if you think any of that stuff is actually private, you're being conned. Now, we do have an opportunity, and I don't know if it'll happen with AI, to decentralize. First of all, you have to decentralize energy sources. If you don't have decentralized energy, you're using a grid, you're never going to be able to create anything decentralized, because all you have to do is pull the plug and your network's dead. So in this world that we live in, many people right now, charlatans in my opinion, are saying, I have this new encryption privacy tech. Most encrypted things start out great because they're pitches. Like the Pavel, whatever his name is, from Telegram,
Yep.
came out and said, well, in order for me to operate, I had to give a backdoor to the intelligence agency. So it's actually not private, guys.
Yep.
You are coming at solutions that actually make sense. They make sense. It's impossible to deny that going low tech will actually create privacy. And you are a representation that privacy creates happiness. Like, talk to that for a moment. Talk to that, of how simple and profound it is to be low tech, to live a life that's private. And you have gone from, you know, the pits of personal hell into a rebound. I won't, you know, it's up to you to determine. I don't know how happy or joyful you are. Totally
Oh,
different
very.
things. So you are happier because you have more privacy and you have less drag on your life. Talk to everyone here in the last couple of minutes. Talk to the other 20 somethings out there that'll watch this video and go, this guy's crazy. How can you live without all these things? Like, really speak to that if you can for a moment.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people, it's kind of like when parents tell their kids, "Oh, you shouldn't be on your screen so much," you just get an eye roll. So you have to be ready for it personally. I mean, you have to make that decision for yourself. But really, it's not just freedom that you trade for convenience. You're trading basically everything. I touched on that earlier, but what makes life beautiful is the small things. You know, I'm a workaholic, and I work because I want to have a better life. And there's times like last night I was trying to assess everything, and I was like, okay, I need to put some time blocks for myself, because why am I working in the first place? I want to have time to be with my dogs, for example, or my girlfriend, or to travel. And so you need to ask yourself, convenience is not the end goal. You want to have freedom in all areas. So you want to get out of this propaganda, like that TikTok meme that I showed you or told you about is a clear example of how they manipulate you based off relatability. They show you this profile. It says line cook. I go, yep, I'm a line cook. It says rotten apple. I say, oh, yep, that's me. Wow, that's crazy. And then the third thing, oh, that must be true. I must want to kill myself. That's a dramatic example, and I think it happens a lot more discreet for people, and nobody notices it because it just passes off as a meme or something funny. But really, you're being conditioned uh, constantly by everything. Everything is conditioning you, and the best way you can get out of that conditioning is just simply to unplug and to live your own life, and to be in control of your thoughts. Because if you're not in control of your thoughts, if you don't think about the words that you use, how you speak them, externally, internally, how you're aware of your emotions, being self-aware in general, if you can't do those things, then you're going to be controlled by someone else. And one of the really big aspects of that comes down to low tech, like you said. I mean, if you're on a computer all the time, you're in their system. If you're getting all your information from Twitter or reading ebooks or whatever, audiobooks, I mean, I'm not saying you have to go Amish. I like audiobooks. I listen to them all the time, but you got to have one foot in, one foot out. And what I say is you want the foot that's out to continue to move out and the foot that's in just to be, like it's functioning. So it's a matter of getting out of their system, finding out what really matters in your life. I think that's one of the biggest problems with people nowadays is they want like a surface level fix. Oh, if I get a Lamborghini, I'll be happy, or if I have a six pack, I'll be happy, or whatever. You have to look below that. And why do I feel this way? Why do I want that? What do I really want? And you need to ask yourself, what do you really want out of life? And then pursue that. Maybe I want to feel good about myself. That a Lamborghini might make you feel good on a high level, but it can be taken away from you. Strength is from within, and it should not be something that can be taken away from you. So you need to find that. And yeah, I guess that's it. I don't know.
No, wise words. Yeah, Lamborghini can be wrapped around a tree tomorrow.
Yep.
It's fleeting. Everything in this world is fleeting. You need to find
Yep.
real purpose. I think that's
Exactly.
fantastic. That's great information, Eric. So thank you so much for sharing. Talk to us a little bit about Privacy Academy as we go out here. How can they find you? How does it work? What do you guys do for people? By the way, this is not. I've never met Eric until today. I don't get paid anything to do this. I don't get paid anything to do anything on this podcast. This is totally on my dime. Talk to us a little bit about Privacy Academy and the things people can expect by going to your website or joining or whatever it is.
Yeah, so Privacy Academy was founded by my father. We worked together on it, and now we've got a great team of privacy experts. So we're targeted for average non-techie people who want to learn how to get private and secure. So maybe you're just on the far end of the iceberg where all you want to do is protect your assets. We can help you with that. Or if you want to learn how to get private, stop surveillance, protect liberty, we have pre-recorded courses. We have a community with the privacy experts where you can message them. We hold weekly live training sessions. We've got a fundamentals one for the bare basics, and then we do it advanced where it's constantly changing. Um, we have like the Linux course. We can show you how to add Linux to your own computer or recommend computers. And then we also talk about phones as well. So we try to cover everything. We try to present all the information to you so you can choose how far you want to go down the rabbit hole yourself. We don't do any like we don't make our own laptops. We don't do any software. And we recommend that you don't put all your eggs in one basket. We just recommend what we believe in. And we want to do that because we want to change. I mean, Proton's a good example of that. They try to create this ecosystem where you're embedded into everything they do. You don't want to look to one solution. You want to have a lot of solutions, and you want to be nimble so you can jump around and not have to uproot your whole life. So that's a basic summary. I've also got a parents and teens course that I just released. And so that is one aspect is for parents if you want to learn about this new age that the kids are entering because it's a whole different world than what you grew up in. And then I've got the kids, young adults, teens, where I talk about some of the things I talked about today, where I talk about self-awareness, choosing your words, emotional discipline, skepticism, the normal internet threats like don't send naked photos, don't bully someone online, that sort of thing. But then it goes into big tech manipulation. And the whole point of that course is I want to teach the youth how to think, not what to think. And I want you to be there with them because I don't think anyone should teach the youth something. I think you should as the parent. So I just wanted to create that as a tool to help people. So we've got a lot of different tools. Um, and I'm very happy with what we've done. Oh, and one last thing. Sorry, I don't mean to go too long.
No, please.
Uh, we are working on creating local communities now too, because local is really the answer. So we've got flyers you can print out and share. We've got a map where you can go to chat rooms for different communities for your state. So, for example, Nebraska, we're based out of Nebraska. Glenn's going to start leading it there, where we're going to have a monthly meeting where it's about privacy, liberty. Um, and yeah, so if you want to get flyers, print them out, hand them out throughout your state, because at the end of the day, we're just a business and we
Mhm.
can't stop. Like if they're going to do a social credit system, I don't have a software to sell you to fix that. You're going to have to not comply. This is a movement and we need to spread awareness. So it comes down to, you know, get yourself in line and then help others with that message too. So that's what we try to help with.
Well, I'm happy to lead something like that in Texas. So let's connect off camera here and see what I can do to help you guys out because I think your initiative is one that needs to be talked about a lot more. So I'm glad you're
Thank
getting exposure on this stuff. I'm glad you're speaking at conferences and having big name people watch this stuff, like the New Orleans Investor Conference. These are
Yes.
big places to get big names behind you. So I'm hoping you
Very
find the right big names because a lot of those big names are part of the problem too. Just to be frank, I know a lot of them too. I have no problem saying they're part of the problem either, and that's why they like me, I guess. It's weird. But Eric, thank you so much for coming on here, telling your story, telling us a little bit about what you're doing, talking about privacy. Guys, low tech is a simple solution to have a happy life. It really is. Look at the happiness scale. Look at depression, look at suicide, look at overdoses. These things have all escalated into unbelievable numbers. Politicians will tell you because it's because of fentanyl. It's not because of fentanyl. Fentanyl is the final dagger. It's the thing
Yeah.
that led them into the drug use that you have to really look at. Why are people using drugs? Why are people having sex so often? Why are people depressed? Why are they taking their own lives? The reason generally is because you're overloaded. You're being manipulated. You're being brainwashed, and AI by itself, writing alongside all of your programs today, is doing nothing but taking in data to help recreate images, videos, sounds, music, filtration, messages, fake messages. And I think this gets much worse. Eventually, I hope it gets better. By the way, no politician's ever going to vote against this stuff because all the money behind it wants it to be centralized and controlled. You got to do it on your own. You got to take initiative. And I think Privacy Academy is a great place to start to learn about these things. So I'm looking forward to meeting you and your dad and talking a little bit further about this stuff, because this is an initiative I'd love to get behind and see how I can help. So Eric, thank you so much for being on here today. God
Thank you.
bless you and all of your journeys and your travels, your life. I hope you just continue to find more happiness and more joy. And I wish you absolutely nothing but the best. So thank
Thank
you
you
for
very
coming on
much.
today. All right. Well, God bless you. God bless this country. And we'll see you next time here on the Rice Report. Have a good one, everybody.